Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So in this opportunity today, I would like to break down a thesis on behalf of my final assignments in practical research in ELT course. So I took this one research that published in repository Win Araniri in 2023, and the author is Putri Makfira, and the thesis title is an analysis of code switching used in English Speaking Today podcast. So I think I'm gonna start to break down this research with the background of why this research conducted. So, according to Putri Makfira, this research is necessary because the phenomenon of code switching happened in our real life, and it also benefit into the PBI students department because it can encourage them to learn English within the class or learning experiences. And also it emphasizes into the public to speak multilinguals, particularly in English, because we live in the developmental era. And in this research, the object of this research, as we know, is English Speaking Today podcast that hosted by Kiki and Gio, and they are Indonesian, and this code mixing happened between English and Indonesian. That's why made this research so much relate into our real life. And in this research, the object of this research is focusing on first selected podcast of English Speaking Today podcast, and this research conduct with the research question. The first one is analyzing the types of code switching that happen in the podcast, and also what are the functions of code mixing uttered by the host in the podcast. In this research, the author focused on the ground theory by Hoffman, and according to Hoffman, there are three types of code mixing. The first one is text switching, followed with intersential switching, and the last one is intersential switching. And also for the research question number 2, which is what are the functions of the code switching uttered in the four selected podcast. It also took the ground theory by Hoffman, cited by Girsang. There are 7 types of the functions that happened in the utterance of English Speaking Today podcast. And for the research methodology, this research considered as qualitative research used the ground theory by Creswell, following with the content analysis method, which the author transcribed the audio into the text and then categorize the audio and classify it into types of code switching according to Hoffman ground theory, as I stated before. And then the 4 selected flux here is common mispronounced English words in Indonesia. The second one is bahasa gaul in Indonesia. And the third one, what is homonym? And the last one is improve your fluency through TV shows. And for the methods of data analysis here, so the first selected flux before is the source for this research, and the methods of the analysis in this research is the first one, sentence identification, that, as I said before, the author used to transcribe the audio and then categorize it according to its types where it belongs. The sentence belongs to which types of code switching according to Hoffman's theory. And then types classification, and also reason classification. Reasons classification here belong to the what function of code switching that uttered by the host in English Speaking Today podcast. And then the fourth one, or the last one, is concluding. And the findings of this research come to the result where the author discovered that 132 types of code switching text switching happen in the utterance of English Speaking Today podcast, following with the function that mostly happen in the utterance is interjection, which is 45 times in the utterance of English Speaking Today podcast that hosted by Gio and Kiki. And the findings of this study really come into a very different discovery from the previous study that cited in this research, which is the first one from Heriatun that conduct code switching analysis towards document, which is very different from this research because this research focusing on the media analyzed. And the second one, previous study, is from Kamaria, and Kamaria used to analyze code switching in the media, in social media, focusing on Instagram. Meanwhile, this one is from podcast, and all of the ground theory from both of the previous study are different. This research is use Hoffman theory, and the other one use others, and also the same thing that happened between both of the research is uh, inter that text switching is the most type of code switching happened in the research. Meanwhile, the other two previous study use different social factors or the function that follows the occurrence of code switching in the utterance or in the written text. So that's all that I could explain in today's thesis review or thesis breakdown. And I hope this benefit for a lot of people. And that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.